I got your wig, ho. Ha ha. You're mad. Miss Wikiana. Miss Wig. Miss Wikiana.
Let me be clear, though. 2024 was not only negative. The media wants us to believe this country is so divided, but we actually came together a lot this year. Like, as a nation, we unanimously agreed that we would rather see J-Lo in a toxic relationship than in concert. We all agreed the government totally knows what drones are and are telling us the drones are still up there, and we have no idea what's behind them. No idea.
Unexplained drones leave millions on edge across the country. One former defense official recently issued this warning about the government's secrecy around UFOs.
Excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. If we approach the UAP topic in the same way as we, as Americans, have met other challenges, we can restore our faith in our government institutions. I believe that we as Americans can handle the truth, and I also believe the world deserves the truth.
Yeah, Fox News contributor and former Special Operations Intel analyst and drone expert Brett Velkovitz joins us now. Brett, thank you for your service. Thanks for joining us. We listen to that, and he's talking about extraterrestrial, but we really don't have to go outside of our stratosphere to see our government being very secretive and not very trustworthy. I'm looking at the timeline here on these drones, and you have Mayorkas at DHS briefing and saying no big deal. You have Admiral Kirby saying it. These are people who lied to our faces about the border and about the Chinese spy balloon. If that's the credibility and you're saying there's nothing to worry about here, that makes me think there's something to worry about here.
Well, it's been the talk in New Jersey lately. Mysterious drones flying above multiple counties, and no one really seems to know exactly what's going on.
So this has caught the attention of many. Fox 5's Richard Jacobs takes a look at the latest sightings in the sky.
These are all drones in the sky.
It may look like videos from the TV series The Unexplained, what appears to be mystery drones flying over some New Jersey communities.
I can see 3 drones.
From down at the shore all the way to the Army facility in Morris County.
It's really frustrating that we don't have more answers as to where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing.
Down near Monmouth County, the Monmouth County Sheriff also urging federal and state officials to take prompt action addressing these sightings. Jeff Frost from Matawan says he finds himself looking out of his window every night with a bit of fear.
It's so weird. It's such an eerie feeling. I can't really describe it. Like as each passing day goes by and there's less, I guess more conversation about it, but less explicit, like what this is, it becomes a little creepy.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
Sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey. We do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. It is concerning.
Is the public at risk? Is public safety at risk? Are we concerned that there are nefarious intentions that could cause either national security or a public safety incident that would put Americans at risk?
There's nothing that is known that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know, and that's the concerning part.
At this moment, 1 year ago, there was another drone swarm that was underway. For a period of 2 weeks, dozens of unidentified objects swarmed Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. And even though that base has some of the most sophisticated technology in the world, it could not track, identify, or deter the so-called drones from entering restricted airspace. The same appears to still be true for our military, which has frequently blurred the line between identifiable drones and objects that are truly unknown. In July 2019, more than 100 unknown objects buzzed and swarmed around 10 U.S. Navy warships 100 miles off the Pacific coast. The objects were documented on camera, on radar, and on thermal sensors. Splash. In multiple shapes and sizes, including huge wingless orbs with no detectable propulsion system. Just drones, no biggie, the Pentagon suggested. A few years earlier, when Navy pilots on the East Coast encountered unusual objects on a daily basis in their training ranges, the debunkers called them drones or balloons or both, certainly not UFOs. 4 years ago this month, dozens of unknown drones appeared nightly for weeks in the heartland.
The sky is lit up with Christmas lights, basically. There's lights and things flying all over.
Sheriff's departments across the border area of 3 states have been flooded with similar reports since mid-December.
The U.S. military never learned who or what was behind it, as if it was just one of life's little mysteries. In the past few years, the all-purpose term drones has replaced swamp gas and weather balloons as the military's go-to explanation for unknown objects. In what might be the most ironic of the current sightings, intrusions by so-called drones caused air traffic at Wright-Patterson Air Base to shut down this weekend. Wright-Pat is where the wreckage from the 1947 Roswell crash was reportedly stored. Nice touch, drone people.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus.
An assortment of government officials have tried to quell public concerns in recent weeks, but the public isn't buying it, and the mystery drones didn't get the memo either. Social media platforms are jam-packed with cell phone videos of assorted lights and odd objects seen nightly in the skies over New Jersey and many other states, including Florida, Texas, California, and Oregon. Most are likely the lights of airplanes, but some do resemble standard drones, albeit a few the size of an SUV. They do not perform like known drones. New Jersey officials have demanded briefings and say they were told the drones are not a threat, are not being flown by the U.S. government, are not being flown by foreign adversaries, and by the way, the government is unable to track them, doesn't know where they originate or where they go each morning.
It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth? They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
You're going to think I'm nuts, but why should today be any different than any other day? I know this guy whose father worked with the Pentagon and NASA and like secret projects, and he has been messaging me that he will never forgive himself if he doesn't tell the people that he knows that for a month he's been watching this situation. And now, several days ago, before it became a discussion in the mainstream media, that these drones are ours and that they could very possibly be sniffing out something very dangerous, some missing dangerous W from the war, and that areas that coincide with where the drones have been seen have spiked in radiation. So he said it's time to think about where I am and that I might want to go somewhere with my daughter. So like for me, you know, we blow things off and we think nothing's going to happen, but things do happen. I remember sitting in my car with my driver who said to me months before I even knew what the words global pandemic meant, I think there's going to be a global pandemic. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, if he had bet the markets, he would have been a billionaire. So I'm just listening to this guy and watching. And now Trump, who's hanging out with a lot of billionaires who have a lot of money for research, is also finding out that these are ours. And what were the government's choices? A, tell us that that's what they're doing and widespread panic and pandemonium, or B, do what they're doing. But something is wrong, because otherwise they would eliminate them, and everyone's being very cagey. So what do you think? This guy has also been talking to different people in government positions who agree and are watching now. So this is unsettling. It's the upside down. One party that I just spoke to saw 4 aircrafts in Monmouth County, Monmouth Beaches, New Jersey, and 1 was a plane and 3 were drones flying low, gigantic, flying low right above homes. And then Wyckoff, New Jersey, and then 4 in Bernardsville. And I said, what goes on in Bernardsville? And they said, it's just like woodsy. It's a lot of land, a lot of woods. And I said, oh, that seems like an interesting place to hide something. And I spoke to someone from LA and I started talking about it, and they said, I'm not following. I said, what? Because the news is not reporting this. The mainstream media is not really reporting this. And I know people who've gotten their accounts taken down for talking about it on X. And so the mainstream news is not reporting it. Fox News is somewhat reporting it, AKA Trump Television. And the other networks, AKA current administration television, are not really talking about it. So something is obviously going on, and it is consistent that something is being searched for. I stand behind my theory. This definitely feels related to whatever was lost in the beginning of December coming in the ports of New Jersey. Just got off the phone with someone who was SWAT, who flew aircrafts in the military, who currently flies helicopters for high-profile, high-security individuals. Said that the helicopters for NEST, which search for NUCLEARWs, have not left. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, because if they did leave, then we would absolutely have an answer. Said that these drones, which are in full force tonight on a crazy rainy night, that they are seemingly searching for something, possibly radiological, he said, and that drones are electric, not fuel. So we're sort of comparing them to what helicopter flights are. So still, obviously, in this volume, it's very expensive, but not like having all these private planes that are manned and operated by fuel in the air. Don't know if that helps anybody. NEST stands for Nuclear Emergency Support Team.
You're the mayor of Bellevue. What do you know?
We know very little. About 6 days ago, there was an unprecedented briefing with every single mayor in the state of New Jersey, along with every member of our state legislature. We learned exactly at that time what the state knows, which was very little. Since then, information has not been forthcoming. And it's this lack of transparency, in my opinion, that's doing nothing but fueling conspiracy theories online.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Or which side it could be, where it's coming from?
Yeah, I can tell you what it's not. We know for a fact it's not little green men. And more than likely, it's not a foreign adversary, because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights. These drones are huge. We had a mayor yesterday on the call with the White House telling them that he had 6-foot drones hovering over his house. Yet they continue to tell us, we don't know what we're talking about. It's misidentification. Certainly, there's some misidentification probably going on, but I could assure you that we are seeing drones in New Jersey all over the place.
All right, so Bethany Frankel, I know she's not like, the New York Times, but she says that she has like some kind of contact at the Pentagon, and that it has something to do with radioactive material in New Jersey. What are you hearing?
So here's what I know. I know that we were told by our state police that we have assets over our critical infrastructure. Now, depending on your point of view, that's either concerning or comforting. I think it's comforting, because it's probably us listening and watching. We also know that we have drones that are flying in a grid-like pattern. In my opinion, they're looking for something. What might they be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing on December 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged, and it was empty. So
Okay,
potentially
wait,
we're looking
stop
for
right
that.
there, Mayor, because that's very important information. And that came from a credible source.
That came from the U.S. government.
And so it's missing?
Missing.
And they think it's in New Jersey, or it could be anywhere?
It was lost in New Jersey, in transit. And again, this is just an example of what I think that we're sniffing for. I think we do have the assets that can go up and fly around and sniff things, which is why we're not seeing the uptick we used to see in Belleville anymore. It's kind of moving, but we're seeing alerts that it's happening now in Pennsylvania.
Drone talk update. In Jersey, the water has a funny smell and they're testing it. Also that plasmoids are real and that they can be confused as orbs, but that they would not be used. They're a hardware that no one knew existed, but they would not be used unless they absolutely had to be used. The consensus by people who have knowledge and experience in this space is that they are 100% looking for something. But nobody knows anything for sure. No one in the news knows anything. They are reading pieces of paper and regurgitating. So, you know, I certainly don't know anything. I'm just speaking to people that definitely know more than the average bear. Drone talk. So smart people are saying this is not a simulation and this is not a test to see how we'll react, and that the orbs are something that appear at stressed sites. So it's not that the aircrafts are there to study the orbs. It's that the orbs are where the drones are for a very specific reason. So it could be, let's say that they're surveillance orbs. But what I hear is that these drones are not appearing where the orbs are to study the orbs. It's basically that these two elements would show up at a similar location for a very specific reason.
But what about those reports of the lights disappearing and reappearing? Can the parallax effect explain that?
Not likely. That's where things start to get a bit more perplexing. We need to consider other possibilities. And that's where our second mystery comes into play. The Hessdalen lights.
Yes. Hessdalen, Norway. The UFO hotspot that's been baffling scientists for decades. This place has been a magnet for unexplained light phenomena since the 1980s, long before drones were even a thing.
Precisely. And while there's no definitive explanation for the Hessdalen lights, researchers have identified 4 distinct types, based on their appearance and behavior.
4 types of lights. This is where it gets really intriguing. Tell me more about these different categories. What makes them unique?
Well, type 1 is the most fleeting, consisting of brief, bright flashes, usually white or blue. Imagine a super bright camera flash, but in the sky. These flashes are often so brief that they're difficult to capture on camera. Then there's type 2, which is more in line with the classic orb description, a yellow ball of light that can vary in size, shape, speed, and duration. These orbs have been observed hovering in place, moving slowly or rapidly, and even illuminating the ground beneath them.
Wow. It's like someone shining a spotlight from the sky. I can see why people would find that both fascinating and a little unnerving.
Yeah.
What about the other 2 types?
Type 3 is a bit more complex, involving clusters of lights of different colors. These clusters sometimes appear to be attached to a larger, darker object, leading some to speculate about the possibility of structured craft.
So could these lights be some kind of natural phenomenon related to electromagnetism?
It's certainly a possibility. And that brings us to our third mystery. One that might hold the key to understanding both the Hessdalen lights and the New Jersey sightings. Plasmoids. Plasmoids are self-contained structures of plasma, that superheated electrically charged gas. Imagine a glowing cloud, held together by its own magnetic field.
So like a miniature star. I'm trying to picture it.
Not exactly a star, but you're getting warmer. What's fascinating about plasmoids is that they can store and release tremendous amounts of energy, sometimes creating those bright flashes and even jets of charged particle.
Okay, that's starting to sound familiar. Could plasmoids explain those bright, erratic lights people have been seeing in both New Jersey and Hessdalen?
It's a possibility worth exploring.
A former astronaut who spent 15 years with NASA says he came into contact, not with a drone, but another unidentified object last summer. Joining me now is that former astronaut, Leroy Chow. Leroy, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Hi, my pleasure.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you were piloting your plane from Colorado back home to Texas when this happened to you. Has this kept you up at night, you know, like not knowing what you saw or what that was?
Well, it is pretty strange. It hasn't kept me up per se, but I did come into contact with, or almost came into contact with these two spherical metallic, basically chrome orbs about 3 feet in diameter, one on top of the other. And they passed within 20 feet of my airplane on the left side, going the opposite direction just below. And I got a good look at them. And I didn't know what they were at the time, and I kind of continued to believe they were probably part of some kind of a secret program, a government program for advanced drones, but I have no way of knowing. My biggest concern, and I didn't even have time to get scared because they just whizzed by me so quickly. There wasn't even time for that. So it remains a mystery. I don't know. I have no way of knowing what happened.
Yeah. So you say 20 feet away. That was real close to not being good for you and your airplane.
Right, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I was on an instrument flight plan, which means I was under positive control by air traffic control, and they will alert you if there's other air traffic near you. I had, my airplane is equipped, as all airplanes are required to be equipped, with the FAA-approved devices that allow you to basically see all the traffic in your area on a display like an iPad, and nothing showed up there, and so it was a big mystery.
Yeah, I have my private pilot's license. I'm just VFR. I don't have IFR yet, but I was thinking to myself when I was reading your story, did Tower not tell you, that this was coming? Nothing showed up on your instruments? I mean, that's wild. Right. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, never. This is the first and only time I've ever seen it. It was a little bit earlier this year in August, so nothing before or since.
And your resume, I mean, you have such a lengthy and impressive resume. 3 space shuttle flights. You were the commander on the Expedition 10. You have no reason to make this up. Have you gotten any pushback, after coming public with your story?
No, actually, I kind of kept it to myself. I told a few people about it at the time, but really hadn't talked about it till I was asked on an interview on, if I had seen anything strange before. And I just, like I said, at the time, I assumed it was a secret government program. And so, I hadn't talked about it till being asked. But no, I haven't really gotten any pushback.
The orbs and plasmoids that you're obsessed with, this is insanity, but bear with me. So it's been hypothesized that these types of beings, which are theoretically sentient and feel and perceive, that they show up around stressed sites.
One of the most intriguing findings is the apparent connection between the Hessdalen lights and electromagnetic activity. Researchers have observed that these lights often appear in areas with high electromagnetic fields, and they've even detected fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field during these events.
So it could be a nuclear site, it could be the drones, it could be they're ours, it could be they're somebody else's. Orbs are known to be spiritual beings, like when people, religious, believe that someone's presenting themselves who's passed away. So these orbs are some version of a being, whether AI or intentional to go with the drones in search, or there because there is something there where something needs to be searched for. So it's a much more advanced aerobics class. That even a scientist, you could talk to a scientist or a priest and they're going to tell you 2 different things, 12 different things. And I don't know shit from Shinola. I'm just learning and reading and, wow, distilling.
Is there anything else we should know about plasmoids?
There's a lot more to these enigmatic entities than meets the eye. In fact, one of the most mind-blowing aspects of plasmoid research is the theory that they might represent a 4th domain of life.
Wait a minute. Life? As in living creatures made of plasma. Explain this.
It's a radical concept, but hear me out. Researchers like Dr. Huster, well, there are a lot, but one example is of a real plasmoid researcher who supports the 4th domain of life theory. He argues that plasmoids possess several characteristics of living organisms. They exhibit self-organization, they can grow and reproduce, they interact with their environment, and they even seem to exhibit a kind of intelligence or awareness.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. So we could be talking about a completely new form of life, one that exists in a state of matter we barely understand. But if plasmoids are alive, where do they come from? Did they evolve here on Earth? Or could they be extraterrestrial in origin?
Now you're asking the big questions. And while we don't have definitive answers, there are some tantalizing clues. For example, some researchers have pointed out that the conditions necessary for plasmoid formation are actually quite common in the universe. Plasma is the most abundant form of matter in the cosmos, and it's found in stars, nebulae, even interstellar space.
So plasmoids could be floating around all over the universe. That's wild. But how would they get here to Earth? And why would they be hanging around places like New Jersey and Hessdalen?
Those are excellent questions, and they lead us deeper into the mystery. Some researchers speculate that plasmoids might be attracted to Earth's magnetic field, which acts like a giant shield, deflecting harmful radiation from the sun.
A couple questions about drones. There have been repeated drone sightings in the Northeast, especially in New Jersey. They're flying at low altitudes, they're flying in flocks. Has the president been briefed on this situation?
So we are certainly aware, the president is aware. So we're closely tracking the activity and coordinating closely with relevant agency, including DHS and FBI, to continue to investigate these incidents. Don't have anything beyond that to share. Obviously, this is something that DHS and FBI are tracking very, very closely, and so I would have to refer you to them directly, but aware. Keeping an eye out and looking into the incidents that you just mentioned.
Still though, but has the federal government ruled out that these are controlled by foreign entities?
Yeah.
And do you know if they're conducting surveillance over these areas?
I cannot make any kind of predictions or comments about that specifically from here. This is something that DHS is looking at and FBI, so I would have to refer you to them. I don't have anything beyond that. We're tracking this very closely. Obviously, we're all aware of the incidents that have been reported. I'm not going to go into what they could be or could not be from here. That is something that obviously is being looked at as those respective agencies that I mentioned.
When was the president briefed on this?
I don't have a timeline, but he certainly has been made aware of this.
And what's the White House message to the people up there who are frustrated that there isn't any information out?
And obviously, we hear them and we understand that. We are closely tracking this. We are monitoring the incidents that have been put forward and certainly made public. And we have two agencies that I've already mentioned that are looking into this, working closely with folks on the ground, trying to get to the bottom of it. I don't have anything more to share beyond that.
Ew. Like JK, but like maybe not. But thank you for watching. But you hating ass bitches always have something to say. Hating ass bitch, but you're still watching my vids. What? You're so upset. But that's like okay, because have a piece of bread, have a Xanax, relax, because I said what I said.